some of the creative shifts that have had to happen. You've talked about a little some before, and I'm going to get to those in a second. One of the biggest ones this year, and I'm going to preface this question by mentioning to folks out there and to Tony that both the individual I'm about to mention and Tony Khan have both stated that as far as they're concerned, they're not going to talk about what happened, and that there's a great mutual respect for each other. But I do want to talk about that this year began with one Cody Rhodes as TNT champion. And Cody Rhodes was obviously a part of, just from a viewer's perspective, a lot of things that were happening creatively. Literally the last week before you guys announced the departure, Brandy Rhodes has a confrontation with Paige Van Zant, and it was clear that there was creative things happening with that involved Cody Rhodes at the time. So my question here is really around some of the creative challenges around that departure, and then also just kind of environmentally. A lot of guys who came in were his guys. You talk about, you can look really across the roster. There was the Nightmare family that existed as a faction, and all of a sudden there were a number of guys who suddenly didn't have that tie anymore. How was adjusting around that creatively at the top of the year, and how do you feel as far as, you know, a lot of the people he brought in, and as far as where AEW is as a team now, how do you feel things have shifted over those last 12 months?
It was certainly, whenever you lose a star the caliber of Cody Rhodes, it's going to be a major impact on your company, and it's going to, you know, affect a number of different departments and a number of different things in terms of the presentation and the backstage. And personally, I really like Cody, and I know Cody really well. And you know, I think that in the time he was here, he was so involved in so many different facets of the start of AEW and what we were. And when he left, that was a major challenge. Going into Revolution, we had so many great stories. I think it really helped us and helped keep us strong that people were so invested in what was happening in AEW at the time. And going into Revolution, fans were really interested, I think, in what was happening. There were a lot of things really building. One thing that helped us in January, you know, not the exact same time, but pretty similar timing, around the time of when Cody did leave, is Jon Moxley came back. And that was a big help to us, because we had never really, it was unusual. We had all these great stars, including Cody, and you had really 3 huge free agents, probably the biggest 3 free agents we'd ever signed, all show up within 2 weeks, with CM Punk, Adam Cole, and Bryan Danielson. And they all became a huge part of the TV show really quickly, all 3 of them, Punk, Cole, and Danielson. And going into the end of the year, not only did you have these great stars that were with us from the beginning, you had Chris Jericho, Kenny Omega, Jon Moxley, and Cody Rhodes. Jon Moxley, late in the year, had to leave and get help. And it was the best thing that could have happened to him. It was the best thing, really, I think, that could have happened to us, to have a healthy Jon Moxley there for the entirety of this year, 2022, to keep the company strong. And then, you know, not only Jon Moxley out, Kenny Omega, with the toll the injuries took, had to step away after full year and was gone for almost a year. And then you had also, around that time, Chris Jericho had a health concern. Again, totally different kind of health problem than Jon Moxley, but Chris addressed it. And something similar was, we got both guys back healthy. They were both here for the entire 2022. And wow, was that important in keeping the company strong. But at the end of 2021, people thought, hey, what's going on? Because for the first time, it's like, we've never seen an AEW without Mox, Jericho, and Omega. And then now, a year later, of course, Mox, Jericho, Omega is such a huge part of the presentation of the show, and other people aren't here. day to day. So we've been through these changes. Like I mentioned, around Double or Nothing, then there was another group of people that weren't there, but some of these other people weren't back yet. And so that's something that AEW has that not very many wrestling companies ever have. And I think only, a couple wrestling companies ever have had that kind of deep roster. And I honestly don't know if any wrestling company in the world right now could sustain losing as many of their top people as we have and bouncing back time after time, and without exception. And for us, that was one of the really challenging departures, certainly. And, there's a number of people here, not just me, there's a lot of people that really like Cody, and I'm one of them. And there's a lot of people here that are really close to him that got involved in AEW with him at the beginning, and a lot of these people are still here, and they've been involved with AEW the whole time, and they never stop working really hard. And that's what's great about AEW. We have the best fans, and we have this great crew backstage, the wrestlers and the team that puts the shows on, and everybody's pretty close. And that's really what, every time we've had a challenge, that's what's gotten us through, is having a great crew.